As the storm started getting louder and louder, all of a sudden a 40-foot cedar tree fell on the front part of the house, and a section of the roof just kind of came apart. And that was right in the beginning.
Hurricane Dorian was one of the strongest hurricanes on record to hit the Bahamas, causing storm surges and wind damage that decimated parts of the islands of Abaco and Freeport. Leaving many homeless and separated from their families. Separated from their pets.
The storm surge carried the water up to about at least 6 feet inside the building. The autoclave weighs at least 40, 50 pounds, and we found it on the floor. It was on a shelf around 4 feet high. I've heard horror stories of people literally clinging to the rafters in the roof. And when the water came in, depending on where you were, people got washed out. But no, it's not an experience I'd want to repeat. And I don't think anybody would want to repeat it.
After losing his veterinary clinic, Dr. Bailey continued to care for animals in need in makeshift clinics in abandoned buildings that he works very hard to keep safe and sterile for the animals. Linda Giovino from Marsh Harbor miraculously survived Hurricane Dorian in one of the hardest hit areas. She was separated from her 10 rescued dogs. But she never gave up hope that one day she would reunite with them.
After the storm, that was completely gone. It was just nothing but cement rubble, and unfortunately I found out 2 days later there were 5 people had perished right there adjacent to our driveway. And you could hear a rush, and now I know afterwards from the storm it was like a rush of trees. And then all of a sudden I heard another bang, and it was literally the roof of somebody else's house hit the side of our house, but it landed in the yard.
It was tough. It was really hard. That morning we got up, it was blowing, raining, everything else, and my son-in-law came in the room and he says, Mom, we got to get out. The yard is flooded. So I came out the bedroom, and when I stepped out the bedroom, the roof and the wall started to collapse on us. And I went out the back door of my daughter's house where my dog Shadow, when we got it, stepped outside, it was 4 feet of water. And Shadow jumped on my back. And I went through the yard struggling, and when I went round the side of the house, the wave hit us, and it took my dog right off of my back, and he was gone. And my daughter's 2 dogs were there, and they both disappeared. And then we went and got in the truck to try go to safety, and the truck started to float. Everybody was able to get out of the truck but me. I couldn't get out the truck. The waves had blocked all the doors and we couldn't get them back open.
During the eye of the storm, I couldn't believe my eyes. I looked out the window and my neighbor's yard was a lake, a literal lake. And then that was then that I realized what the rain that was kind of pelting the house over and over again, like somebody was power washing the house, that wasn't really rain, that was really the sea.
It was gonna be the usual, you know. It was pretty hard. During the storm, I never been scared, never been so scared. We were upstairs, and that's where all hell broke loose. And that's when I got really, really, really scared. And it was a terrifying moment. I got really scared when I realized that my bedroom door was basically flexing because it was a glass door. It had shutters, but it was flexing. So that's when I made the decision to went through the attic and took my daughter and my wife next door to Francis, which is my brother. Thinking about it every time, every night you go to bed, thinking about how, you know, what we just survived. It's really crazy.
Right after about August 30th, we preparing for one of the worst hurricanes that would have hit the Bahamas. And about 10 miles offshore, the hurricane had an inner eye wall replacement, and we knew it was going to be bad. In prepping the properties and the houses and vehicles and everything, I decided this was the big one, and I flew my family out of here. I woke up 5 o'clock Friday morning and decided that this was the time for them to leave. So I evacuated my family out of here that Friday.
As you can see, the 2 buildings in the back are completely gone. They're down, we're ready to rebuild. These 2 I thought would be probably the safest, and I had 14 family members in one house, 14 family members in another house. There were people here, nobody in this house at the beginning, nobody in the owner's house at the beginning, and I would not put anybody in the 2 houses up in the front by the water in fear of that would be the most dangerous place. Because in the first half of the storm, the house just peeled apart, leaving one room where everybody, all 14 people in each house, actually stayed through the first half of the storm. The people in this house watched the house peel off as it was going in the first half. I did have communication with the 2 families and both of them during the first half of the storm. They all wanted to leave, which I encouraged them to stay. This one, Georgia Peach, was a little bit more challenging. Believe it or not, with those high winds, there actually was a fire in there during the storm as well.
You know, after Dorian, it was all the families just, like I had to call around. Eventually when the phones came back in and communications was established, call around and find out where everybody was. Because
I was carrying Valentina, my niece, and we got through the driveway because I didn't want her to step on any nails or anything. And I was like, she looked at me and she's like, "Put me down, Riri, put me down." And I was like, "I can't put you down, Val, you can't get hurt." She's like, I run fast, Riri. And I was like, "Okay, Val, you have to run really fast, okay?" And she said, I run so fast, Riri. I run fast. And I'm like, okay, run fast and hop over all the wires. Don't touch the wires. It's a big game. You have to win this game, okay? She said, okay. And I held that little girl's arm so tight.
I had a rough time during the storm. My house collapsed in, and my roof collapsed in too. And I had to run during the storm. I almost stepped on a nail, and then I ran to Firefly with Riri. My mom and dad and Esther went on a motorbike. They went to Firefly. We went into my friend's house, Emma's house, for the storm. Half of the storm, I stayed there at night.
There were so many people on the road. Everybody, either they were running to evacuating to go other places too. We started hearing the helicopters and the planes, air traffic, trying to see what the island looked like. USCG, well, U.S. Coast Guard. U.S. Coast Guard came on island. They were evacuating people with medevac. If they were injured, terribly injured at all, if they were elderly, or if they were ill, diabetics, anything like that, or if they needed like medications that weren't immediate, they were evacuated. And then women and young children, and then children of all ages.
I think it was the 16th of September. You know, I was really I was very frazzled by that point. I had been through the storm and then the sort of 2 weeks of the aftermath, and it was just a crazy time. I mean, we just didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know where we were going. We didn't know where the kids were going, and we didn't know what to do with the animals.
So my family ended up in Nassau with my dad, and I told them I wasn't in no position to make any decisions on where they're going to go to school, how, where. So we decided to take it back to my old stomping grounds. I lived in Spanish Wells for many years and had a lot of friends there. So Candace put the girls in school in Spanish Wells. They adopted, but it was extremely hard.
With 4 people in the house, inclusive of myself and my 3 dogs. And having woken up that morning and getting that first, I guess, update of how the storm grew significantly over the evening, it still didn't really hit home what we were about to go through.
5 days after the storm hit, we had a mass evacuation of people. 212 people, I think, were evacuated off the island. A lot of people said, I'm not going unless my pets go with me. So there was a lot of uncertainty as to how we were going to get the pets off the island with their owners, preferably. So we just networked as best we could with the boats that were coming over to evacuate people to see which boats would take pets and which boats would not take pets. So we had to make a bunch of calls about that. But in particular, there's a lady who lives on a remote island that's about 5 miles south of here on another island. And she had dogs and cats that needed evacuating off the island. But because of the remoteness, it was a while before we were able to arrange it.
Very thankful that we could get Janie off the island because she had suffered so much trauma with her cats and dogs, trying to keep them safe as well as keeping her home safe, because she lost her home as well. So here she's trying to survive all of that, plus keep the animals safe at the same time. So she's still got a few that are still down on Toulouse that Lisa Rukoff is still feeding.
It was so exasperating, you know, because of rescuing animals for 25 years, and here it was that the Coast Guard was telling me I had to leave, and I kept telling them I didn't want to leave my dogs. So they said I had to go, so I put down 220 pounds of dog food and 50 gallons of water that I had left. Everything was sheltered, and then it didn't get upsetting until 2 of them came to the end of the driveway to say goodbye. And I went back to them, you know, and told them I'd be back for them, you know, because here it was, I try to talk the talk and walk the walk, and here it was, I was leaving them.
I'm Laura, I'm the chairman of BARC, and basically, you know, BARC is a spay and neuter organization, and we do education in the schools as well, and we never really expected to be part of hurricane relief. But, you know, we've been in existence for 10 years now. We've built a lot of contacts throughout the islands, and when the hurricane was coming through, and right after, the days right after, people started reaching out to us. I can't get out, I have animals, I can't travel out, or my animal's missing, you know, so they started asking us for help. Unfortunately, a lot of people have had to surrender their pets, which has been really sad.
Want some water? No, you just don't know what's happening. Here.
Just because they've lost everything. So it's been really emotional for all of us. Sorry. Yeah, so I don't know why I'm crying. Okay. So we're just really confident about all the homes, you know, these amazing dogs and what they've been through this storm, and like all of our volunteers have been here. Like Abby was mentioning, you know, these animals have come in here really traumatized, and people have been here to really nurture them and get them through that, and their little spirits are coming out.
Just days after Hurricane Dorian devastated Abaco, rescuers Sean Irian, Christy Nielsen, Daniel Braithwaite, and Douglas Thron stayed behind to find animals in need of help. This led to the rescue of a pup trapped under rubble. Thanks to Laurie Simmons and everyone involved, the puppy was flown out to Big Dog Ranch Rescue in Florida within 90 minutes of being found.
As soon as the storm happened, BARC was immediately on the ground running. What can we do? Arranging for flights to get the dogs off the island, getting our people there with the help of I4 and with the help of the International Humane Society, finding dogs that either owners had sent us a message to say, please can you help find your dog, or finding dogs on the island were there and needed to be helped.
People were having to leave their animals behind, not because they wanted to, because there weren't any vets to clear them health-wise, to get them on the planes or to get them on the boats. We were flooded with these pleas of support, please help me get my animals out, and we couldn't ignore that. And so the team just pulled together and we started trying to bring in these animals to reunite them with their owners, with their humans, and to also bring in animals that we didn't know who their owners were.
After Hurricane Dorian devastated the Bahamas last year, Big Dog Ranch Rescue helped save over 160 dogs and reunited more than 65 animals with their families.
Once I got stateside, I started, networking with some of my other animal rescue people to find out, how do I find out where my dogs are, how can they get rescued, what's going on, and come to find out afterwards, I found out that Valentino Armely of Armely Animal Ambulance out of Nassau put his animal ambulance on a barge and went up to Abaco, and then drove the ambulance 60 miles into Marsh Harbor, went into my yard with 2 animal technicians and rescued every one of my dogs. Matt DeLeon was able to facilitate getting a company, the Resolve Company, to charter a caravan out of Fort Lauderdale to fly me and Lori Simmons of Big Dog Ranch into Nassau, and then Angie helped facilitate with Bark and the rescue and the meeting of my dogs again.
We are on our way to the Bark shelter. These incredible tents were donated by Global Medic, basically as a relief spot for the dogs, since obviously after this hurricane there was a lot of last-minute scrambling to accommodate all the dogs that were evacuated from Abaco.
Just couldn't believe when all of the organizations got together to help me find my dogs. The organization Bark out of Nassau, Big Dog Ranch Rescue out of Loxahatchee Groves, Florida, and the International Federation of Animal Welfare. It was amazing how they all came together to help me find my dogs. And to quote a friend, Angie, they literally worked their souls to the bone, literally, just to find and help me find my animals, and they're helping others find theirs also.
Our role here in the Bahamas has been responding to Hurricane Dorian, and we've activated several of our programs, one of which is the shelter program you can see behind me. Bark has used our emergency Alaska tents to house their dogs. They've had I think over 150 dogs that have come through their system. They're trying to reunite them with their owners, and currently there's about 60 dogs in these 2 tents behind me waiting to be reunited with their owners.
My name is Abby. I'm with the group Vet Techs Without Borders, and our mission is to go around the world and help groups that need vet techs and vet assistance, and that includes disaster relief and wildlife and spay neuters. We got a call from Bark to come in and help out here at the temporary shelter, and of course jumped right on it because what Bark is doing is amazing. It's amazing to see these animals go from totally traumatized to now friendly and open and available to be adopted.
The animals have come in and we've done a medical intake on them, give them vaccinations, wormer, done any kind of medical examination to see if we could make them any more comfortable, because some of the animals actually sustained injuries, obviously from the storm experience. So we've been treating those as well and just trying to make them as comfortable as possible by getting volunteers to come, and because a lot of these animals are owned animals and they don't know what's going on, they're completely bewildered, some of them are quite senior, so our volunteers have just been sat with them while they're missing the people, trying to just, give them that extra TLC that they need after going through the trauma.
I wanted to go and be back with my family, and we realized that we had to get him off the island because there was no way I could leave him here by himself. So I was offered a plane ride back with him and me through BARC, and so I had to make my way to the airport of Marsh Harbor with him, and finally made it on the plane and got out of there. But that was definitely the most traumatic day of the entire storm episode for me. It was very harrowing.
We couldn't believe we found all 10. So with the help of Big Dog Ranch Rescue, which is a huge, unbelievable blessing, we're going to get all 10 today. Dogs give you such great emotional support. They helped me tremendously through the hurricane. They love you whether you're rich, you're poor, you're fat, you're thin. It's just amazing all the love that they give. And I consider rescue analogous to the word vow. Rescue is a vow to me. And I carry them to death to us part. I'm so excited to be able to be reunited with all my furry children.
That's my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. Oh, Minnie. Pearl. This girl. There she goes. There she goes. Hear nothing. So these were right beside me constantly during the hurricane. Ginger. Oh. Hey, Ginger.
Inspector Amelie, this is Linda. This is the mother, and this is the gentleman who...
Hi, very nice to meet you. Thank you so much. So all 10 were still there pretty much when you went?
And we caught them, and it was like, it was heartbreaking to see that the dogs was there, to know that no one is going to be there to feed them. It was like...
Thank you so much.
No
really
problem, anytime. No problem.
BARC has made a brochure with all the animals that they've rescued. She says, and when we open it up, the first dog we see is Shadow. I cried. My heart was full. She says, we're going tomorrow. We're going to see Shadow. So the next morning she calls me up. She says, Mom, and she puts me on with a live video. And my daughter Lisa and my sister Beverly goes there, and they've got him in a cage. Well, when she said Shadow, he was so happy, his little tail started wiggling, and he comes running out of the cage, and he jumps over her, and he's just loving them all up, because, he has familiar faces. I think he stayed there for 2 weeks, and my brother was able to go and get him, bring him on the plane, and bring him back home to Abaco. And Shadow has technically not left my side since.
On our way to the beach? Yeah? On our way to the beach?
To every single person who has been a part of it. It's too many people to thank, really, because it's just been like hundreds and hundreds of people and companies and groups. So thank you to everybody.
It was an experience, really one that I think has touched everybody in ways. Not only those that are here, but family members that were split. I mean, they were touched in their own way. It is definitely the goal of all men on this island to have their families back. Right after the storm, the women and children that were here were evacuated off the island, I think, within 4 days, 5 days. I think that's the most trying for all the men on this island. Not only this island, I mean, it spans everywhere, all the way to Grand Bahama. I'm sure they're feeling the same effects. But for now, our families are in the best place. It is trying on both sides for us and for them. But the community is coming together strong to rebuild so that we can bring our families back. Amanda and Justin are tirelessly working to get the school back, which is very important to be able to bring family members and kids back.
Hopetown, this same kind of thing happened, the same hurricane happened back in 1929 and 1932 and devastated this island. Separated families, they moved to the States, and a lot of people never came back. It was so easy, like we even thought about it, you push the easy button and leave, and you can't do it. We got to rebuild this place. And it'll take a while, but we'll get there.
Looking forward to the day my wife and daughter move back as well. That's going to be a nice birthday celebration. But this community really catches your heart, and I would rather be no other place in the world than doing it here.
Lorenzo and Troy, who have been friends since childhood, continue to remain best friends. They are also continuing in their efforts for the recovery of the community.
Entire property done by
one piece
people,
at a time.
Family members of Firefly. They love this place and want to see it back.
Troy continues to act as the fire chief of the Hopetown Fire Department. He also continues to bring in volunteer firemen from the States to help with intense training for all of the volunteers. After making the rebuilding of Hopetown his top priority, Troy finally started working on his own home and now has his wife Candace and his 2 daughters back in Hopetown with him. Andrew Charles was finally able to have his family back home for good. They're happily raising their daughter and enjoying their beautiful Hopetown again.
To have my family back home, it's amazing. You know, like this is home. This is where we want to be. You know, if you see them, you know, every day, they want to run to the beaches. They want to, you know, jump in the water. This is, I mean, once we're together, there's nothing we can't accomplish because we are a team. You know, we have to stay together. This is, I love it. You know, it's awesome. And like I said, feel sorry for the other families that can't reunite at this time, but it's gonna happen. You know, just gotta stay positive. It will. They're gonna get back together. But for my family, it's awesome. I love it.
Plug continues to volunteer at the Hopetown Fire Department, doing everything he can to help in the rebuilding and restoration of his beloved Hopetown. Dr. Bailey continues to help all of the animals in need. In early March, headed by Good Karma Rescue and supported by the residents of Scotland Key, many volunteer rescuers and supporters, a mobile veterinary clinic was shipped from Florida to Abaco. The new veterinary clinic of Abaco. After having to leave Abaco to recover, Shamara is so happy to be back in Abaco working with Dr. Bailey and the animals once again. Roger Armley continues to use his animal ambulance to care for animals in Nassau. After leading the animal rescue efforts during Dorian, the BARK team continues its efforts to help save all of the animals of Abaco. They also have wonderful programs for spay and neuter, adoption, and fostering. Angie and Steve of North Abaco Potcake Rescue have relocated to Eleuthera. They continue to help the animals of Abaco as well as Eleuthera and everywhere they go.
I have to say that, I'm pretty much here by myself for the next little while, helping with the rebuilding and getting our house back together. My family are not here. My daughters are away in school, my wife's in Nassau, so I am so grateful that I have my Potcake Lenny here with me because he really is my buddy. We do everything together and he keeps me company, and I really don't know how I'd be surviving without him, but I'm just incredibly grateful to have him here with me.
Neil continues to rebuild his home to have his wife and 2 daughters back with him in Hopetown. Until then, he's getting by with a little help from his friend, Lenny. Like many that were displaced, today, Erica is living in New York. She continues to work hard every day to be able to get back to her family and cat, Melia, at her home in Hopetown. While her niece Valentina continues to live in Hopetown with her family, her friends, and all of her animals. She also continues to share her very brave story.
I'm so happy to be back in Hopetown with all my friends. I love my family and my dogs and Abaco. And fish. I got no fish.
After receiving the best medical care in the States, Miracle Dog has now been adopted and loving his new life with his forever family. Many other dogs were also rescued. Socks is now back with her family.
Found her, we played a little game of cat and mouse, and I called Miss Kathy and let her speak on the phone, and Socks heard her and perked up.
Abby also found her forever dream home with Christy Nielsen and family.
That day, we flew everybody back here to Big Dog Ranch Rescue. It's a doggy fairy tale, actually.
all 10 very brave potcakes make their way to their foster home in the States.
I especially want to thank, of course, Laurie Simmons for providing shelter here for my dogs and the care that they're going to get until I can get on my feet and find a place where all 10 of us can live and during the hurricane, I mean, the sounds are eerie. You know, they're scary. You know, it sounds of pure destruction. You know, you hear trees whooshing past, and you hear, you know, there's 2 washing machines in my front yard, and a freezer and refrigerator, and it's just, you know, it's just one of those things. It's kind of a moment-to-moment thing with life, where you just don't know what's going to happen the next second. You could feel the foundation of the house kind of moving and shaking, and you just never knew from moment to moment what was going to happen. All in all, it was just incredible, the complete destruction. But during the whole storm, what really kept me calm a lot was really the dogs, because it's the dogs that kind of help you neutralize your feelings, and you stay calm for them, just like children. You know, they keep your blood pressure under control. You know, they love you, and they just appreciate you no matter what. And I really couldn't see life without them. I just want to thank everybody so much. It's just an amazing story.
You're a star.